You were never meant to fit into this world the way they told you to. That quiet restlessness inside you, that feeling like there's more, like you've been playing a role that doesn't quite fit, that's not your imagination, that's your soul waking up. Because here's the truth they've buried under layers of education, culture, religion, and fear. You are not human in the way you've been led to believe. You are not just flesh and bones walking through a temporary experience. You are a frequency, a living signal, a divine force encoded in vibration, broadcasting your reality every second of every day. And the moment you remember this, the illusion begins to collapse. They gave you a name, a birth date, a story. They taught you how to color inside the lines, how to obey, how to fear, how to doubt yourself. They made you believe that you are small, limited, and breakable. But here's the part they left out. You're not the character. You're the creator. You are a fractal of the infinite source. You are the echo of something timeless and immeasurable, condensed into a single beam of consciousness wrapped in skin and memory. And when you realign with this truth, not just as a theory but as a living experience, your entire timeline shifts. Reality starts responding to you, not because you wished for it, but because you became it. You've been told that life is about survival. Get a job, pay bills, stay safe, stay quiet, stay numb. But that model of reality is a trap. It's a perfectly constructed matrix that feeds off your disconnection from truth. The truth that you are not here to survive, you are here to activate. To remember that you are not reacting to reality, you are generating it. You've been creating every outcome, every relationship, every high and low based on one thing alone. Your frequency, not your effort, not your words, not even your thoughts alone, but the energy underneath them, the vibration that rises from the beliefs you carry and the identity you project. Change the signal, and the world you see has no choice but to rearrange itself around you. Science is finally catching up to what ancient mystics have always known, that at the smallest level beneath every atom and particle, everything is just energy vibrating at a specific rate. And you, yes, you are a broadcast station. Every thought, every feeling, every belief emits a frequency, and that frequency collapses potential realities into form. This isn't wishful thinking. This is quantum mechanics. This is observer effect. This is vibration dictating matter. You don't need to force reality. You need to align with it. Your job is not to chase your future. Your job is to become the version of you that already lives there, because your future self is not waiting. They are calling. There's a double of you, yes, an energetic twin that already exists in a higher vibrational timeline. A version of you who already has the peace, the power, the abundance, the love, the freedom you've been trying to reach. But the reason you haven't connected yet is simple. Your signal doesn't match. You're tuned to fear, to doubt, to limitation. You're watching your current reality like a mirror that can't lie, when, in fact, it's just a lagging echo of your previous state of being. Reality is not the source, it's the feedback, and once you understand this, the rules change. Let me say that again, because this is everything. Reality is not the source, it is the feedback. You are the source, you are the cause, you are the vibration generating the effect. Your emotions aren't reactions to life, they are instructions to the quantum field. When you feel lack, you emit lack. When you feel love, you emit creation. When you feel gratitude, you align with timelines you haven't even imagined yet. This is the sacred formula they never taught you in school. Because if you knew how powerful you truly are, you wouldn't play by their rules, you wouldn't need their systems, you wouldn't follow their narrative, you would start creating your own. And that scares them. The moment you remember what you really are, you unplug from their grid. You stop leaking energy into the illusions they built. You stop giving away your power through fear, anger, distraction, and doubt, and instead, you become sovereign. You become the signal. You stop searching, you stop waiting, you stop hoping that something or someone outside of you will fix your life, because you realize that the one you've been waiting for is you, not the you that's afraid, not the you that's broken, but the you that has always been whole. The you that exists just beyond the static, the one humming at the frequency of miracles, already aligned with your highest path. They won't tell you this in mainstream science, but the universe doesn't speak in words, it speaks in vibration. It doesn't respond to your desires, it responds to your identity, to the signal you radiate when no one's watching, when you're not pretending, when your frequency is pure. This is why imagination is not just fantasy, it's your interface, your gateway, your access point to the quantum field. Neville Goddard said it best: imagination is the only redemptive power in the universe. Why? Because when you imagine, you vibrate. When you feel it as real, you send out a signal that the quantum cannot ignore. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are, and what you are is whatever you're imagining yourself to be. That's why fear works so well to control you. Because fear is a frequency, a low one, and when you operate from fear, you emit distortion. You scramble your signal. You get trapped in timelines that reflect more fear, more lack, more separation. That's not punishment. That's coherence. The universe is perfectly fair. It gives you exactly what you're tuned to, and if you don't like what you see, it's not about working harder, it's about shifting the signal. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to fix your life from the outside and start calibrating your inner state, things start to move, not because you forced it, but because you became magnetic. The quantum double responds to vibration, not words. So when your frequency shifts, the version of you that already lives in that higher reality can finally connect. That's when timelines collapse. That's when synchronicities explode. That's when miracles start to feel normal. You weren't sent here to earn worthiness. You weren't dropped into this body to beg for love, to strive endlessly, to apologize for your light. You came here to remember, to broadcast, to ripple across this matrix with the code of your true self. And the moment you reclaim that, truly reclaim it, you become untouchable. Everything around you is reacting to your broadcast, not just the people, not just the opportunities or challenges, but even the thoughts you think are yours. They're not random, they're resonating with the frequency you're tuned to. And the more you understand this, the more you begin to see how nothing in your life has ever been an accident. You've been living inside a feedback loop of your own vibration, not as punishment, not as fate, but as a perfect mirror. And once you realize that you're the one sending the signal, you stop blaming, you stop waiting for rescue, you start redesigning the signal, not by force, not by pretending, but by feeling, by choosing to feel the frequency of the life you desire before it ever shows up. They taught you that imagination was childish, that dreaming was naive, that feeling good for no reason made you irresponsible or selfish. But here's the truth they never wanted you to find. Your imagination is the access point to infinite realities. Your emotion is the currency that pays for them. And your identity, how you see yourself in silence, is the password that unlocks the door. You've been standing at the threshold this entire time, key in hand, waiting for permission. But no one's coming to give it. You're the gatekeeper. You're the code. The field is always listening, always responding, always rearranging itself to match you, not what you say, what you are. You are the interface between the seen and the unseen. Every thought you dwell in, every vision you rehearse, every emotion you repeat, it's all part of the transmission. And this transmission isn't just bouncing off the walls of your room, it's collapsing possibilities into reality. That's not philosophy. That's quantum physics. Observer effect. Double-slit experiment. Reality shifts when it's observed with intention, and that intention, that concentrated beam of awareness, is what you carry every moment you're awake. But here's the catch. Most people are observing their life through the lens of fear, limitation, doubt, regret. So the field matches that, not because the universe is cruel, but because it's accurate. And once you learn to shift how you observe, how you feel, you shift the whole projection. You were born into a world designed to make you forget, a system built to distract you from your divine power with endless noise, endless struggle, endless chasing. You've been taught to trade your attention for survival, but that attention, your awareness, is the most powerful creative force in the universe. And when you bring it back into your body, into your breath, into your vision, you start vibrating differently. That's when everything begins to bend, not just circumstances, time, matter, people, all of it. Do you understand how rare that is? Most people go their entire lives believing they're at the mercy of life, that they have to work harder, hustle longer, suffer more just to earn scraps of happiness. But that's the lie, the biggest lie. Because happiness, love, abundance, they're not rewards, they're frequencies. And you don't wait for frequencies, you tune to them. Just like a radio doesn't beg to receive a signal, it dials in, and once it's aligned, the signal comes through clear, without interference. You are that radio, you are that tuner, and your beliefs are the dial, your emotions are the amplifier. Your imagination, that's the blueprint being broadcast to the field. Right now. There's a version of you that already has what you've been praying for. Not in a faraway heaven, not in some abstract dream, but in a real vibrational dimension that exists just outside your current perception. And you connect to that version not by chasing harder, but by aligning deeper, by embodying the state of being that matches that reality. If you want to live a life of peace, you have to start vibrating peace. If you want to experience love, you have to radiate the frequency of love. If you want freedom, you have to feel free before the world reflects it. This is the reversal they never wanted you to learn. You don't wait for life to give you what you want. You become the vibration of it, and life follows. So ask yourself, what are you broadcasting right now? Not what are you thinking, not what are you hoping, what are you feeling at your core? Because that's the true language of creation. The quantum field doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency. So when you walk through your day wrapped in anxiety, in frustration, in self-doubt, it doesn't judge you. It doesn't ask why. It just says yes. It matches you, it mirrors you. That's why the change you're seeking will never come from fixing the outside world. The outside is an echo, a copy. The change begins within you. And that change isn't as hard as they made it seem. It starts with intention, a single honest moment where you stop reacting and start choosing, where you pause and feel the truth under all the noise, that you're not powerless, that you're not lost, that you're not broken, that you've simply been tuned to someone else's signal your entire life. But you can change the channel, you can recalibrate the station, you can rise into a higher frequency, one where the people, the opportunities, the outcomes already exist. You don't have to create them from scratch. You just have to meet them at their level. Because energy doesn't lie. It doesn't care what your past was, or what your family said, or what your bank account looks like. Energy cares about resonance. And when you resonate with a higher truth, everything beneath that truth begins to dissolve. The old stories lose their grip. The fake identities start to fall away. And what's left is you. Not the version you've been trained to perform, but the real you, the you that came here to be the signal, not the seeker. Do you feel it? That quiet certainty rising in your chest, that subtle buzz behind your thoughts. That's not adrenaline, that's recognition. Your deeper self is hearing its own voice again. The voice that says you are more than human. You are more than the circumstances that shape you. You are the divine, remembering itself in motion. And once you see this, really see it, you can't unsee it. You start to move differently, speak differently, breathe differently. Not because you're trying to be spiritual, but because you are spirit, finally awake in the flesh. And now that you're waking up, the question becomes, what will you do with this power? Because remembering alone isn't enough. Knowledge without embodiment is just noise. But when you begin to live as the signal, when you walk through the world like someone who knows they're made of vibration, not matter, something sacred happens. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop performing for a system that was never designed to honor your light. Instead, you begin to emit. And the moment you do, you draw to you everything that matches your transmission. You won't have to hunt for it. It will come. Not because you manipulated the external, but because you finally mastered the internal. You are not a personality. You are not your trauma. You are not your story. You are not even your thoughts. You are the field in which those thoughts arise. You are the consciousness behind the mask, the witness behind the eyes, and when you reclaim your seat as that awareness, your energy becomes coherent, focused, magnetic, becoming the cause. And the beautiful part is, it doesn't require struggle. You don't have to shout affirmations or suppress your pain or fake your way through forced positivity. Real transformation happens when you stop running from yourself, when you slow down and actually feel, when you breathe deep enough to hear the static fall away, when you create space for the truth to rise, not the truth they handed you, but the truth that was born with you, that you are not here to chase light, you are here to remember that you are light, encoded in human form, that your imagination is the gateway to the next timeline, that your emotions are the steering wheel of your reality, that the frequency you embody is the future you summon. Right now, in this very moment, there's a field of infinite possibilities swirling all around you, and out of that field, one version is being pulled into form, not by accident, not by fate, but by resonance, by what you believe, by what you expect, by what you feel on a cellular level. That version is either a match for your highest self or a reflection of your unconscious programming, but either way, it's still you, which means you hold the power to change the projection, not through effort, through frequency, through alignment, through becoming the living transmission of the life you desire. You don't need to manifest with words alone. Words are secondary. Feelings come first. The field doesn't respond to "I want," it responds to "I am." It listens to vibration, not vocabulary. So when you visualize your future, don't do it from a place of lack, hoping something will come save you. Do it from embodiment, from the knowing that what you see is already yours in another dimension, and your job is to align, not chase. When you close your eyes and feel into that reality, when you allow that version of you to become your dominant frequency, the collapse begins. Time folds, paths open, people arrive, reality bends. Not because it's magic, but because it's law. The law of vibration, the law of resonance, the law of creation. This is why so many people struggle with manifestation. They think it's about repeating affirmations, but inside they still feel fear. They still expect failure. They still carry the imprint of a past that told them they were powerless. So the field listens to that frequency, not the words. It reflects the doubt, not the declaration. Because the universe is honest. It can only give you what you met, not what you fake, not what you wish, but what you are. And once you understand this, you stop trying to convince the world. You start calibrating yourself. There's a stillness you reach when you no longer need proof. When you no longer ask, when will it come, and instead ask, who am I being? Because that question, who am I being, is the code. It unlocks everything. Your reality is not delayed by the external. It's delayed by the internal dissonance between what you say and what you feel. So close that gap. Close it not with effort, but with surrender, with embodiment, with presence. Step into the emotional signature of the future you. What does it feel like to already be there, to already have the freedom, the clarity, the abundance, the peace? Let that feeling flood you, not for 5 minutes, but as a way of life. That's how you become the signal. That's how you collapse timeline. You were never meant to live by default. You were designed to live by design, to consciously engineer your vibration, to steward your own frequency with devotion, not perfection, not performance, but presence. And it begins by choosing to remember, choosing to shift, choosing to step out of the program's story and into your encoded truth. You are not a victim of life. You are life. The same force that paints galaxies across the night sky is flowing through your breath, through your voice, through your heartbeat, and it's waiting for you to direct it. This is not about ego. It's not about pretending to be some enlightened guru floating above the world. It's about grounding into your God-given truth, that you are not matter, you are vibration, and your vibration speaks louder than anything you say. Every room you enter, every soul you touch, every choice you make, it's all an echo of your frequency, and the more you attune to the signal of your higher self, the more that signal begins to take over. Your thoughts start to shift, your emotions soften, your body relaxes, and the world begins to match the new pattern you've chosen. This is how you exit the matrix. Not by escaping it, by rewriting it. From the inside out. You don't have to wait for the system to collapse. You are the system. You are the code. And the moment you stop outsourcing your power to people, to governments, to conditions, you take the reins. You begin to broadcast truth instead of fear, wholeness instead of lack, sovereignty instead of submission, and the world around you, even if it doesn't understand you, begins to bend. Not because you forced it, but because the universe always honors coherence. It always reflects the one who remembers. There's a reason you felt resistance every time you tried to change your life from the outside. Because you were never meant to fix your reality by rearranging the shadows. You were meant to become the light, the source, the vibration that shapes what the shadows even look like. You don't move the world by pushing harder. You move the world by becoming unmovable in your alignment. When your inner world becomes non-negotiable, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. But as long as your signal keeps flickering with fear, with doubt, with waiting, the field will keep echoing that static right back to you. This is why rituals alone won't change your life. Why reading books or collecting information or even watching this video won't change your life unless you feel the shift in your body, unless you start vibrating with the reality you're calling in. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down, but now. You have to feel it before you see it. You have to become it before it becomes visible. Because the universe doesn't respond to timeline. It responds to truth. And when you align with that truth in every breath, every choice, every moment, you collapse distance. Time becomes irrelevant. Space becomes fluid. What once felt impossible becomes obvious. Not because something out there changed, but because you changed in here. You've been taught to chase, to grind, to achieve, but all that effort without alignment is just motion, movement without direction. You might build a life that looks successful on the outside but feels empty within, because you weren't here to chase outcomes. You were here to command energy, to generate frequencies that turn visions into realities without needing permission from anyone. When you truly get that, you'll stop measuring progress by how hard you're working, and start measuring it by how often you feel connected to your signal. That's the real success. That's the wealth. That's the divine inheritance you've had access to all along. And when you begin to live that way, something wild starts to happen. Your body heals. Your mind slows down. Your nervous system shifts from survival to serenity, not because everything outside you suddenly became perfect, but because you stopped resisting what is. You stopped identifying with the old story. You stopped vibrating as the wounded version of yourself and began radiating as the whole one, true one, the original blueprint before the world convinced you otherwise. And when you live from that place, people will feel it. They'll be drawn to you, not because you said the right words, but because your field speaks louder than language. You've probably already had glimpses of this. Moments where you felt unstoppable, connected, flowing. Moments where reality seemed to bend just a little. Where you thought of someone and they called. Where you needed something and it showed up. That wasn't coincidence. That was coherence. That was your energy aligning with your desire so precisely that the field responded instantly. That's not rare. That's natural. It's only rare because you've been conditioned to believe it's extraordinary. But it's who you are. And the more you return to that space intentionally, the more it becomes your baseline. It's time to stop living like a glitch in someone else's system. It's time to stop running programs written by people who benefit from your self-doubt. Every belief you carry that says you're not enough, not ready, not worthy, none of it is yours. It was downloaded, imprinted, coded into your subconscious before you even had the awareness to say no. But now you do. Now you can say no to every limiting story and yes to your original vibration, the one that existed before the world told you who you had to be. And here's the secret no one told you. You don't have to heal before you begin. You don't have to wait until you're perfect or enlightened or cleared of all trauma. You just have to choose. Choose to shift. Choose to rise. Choose to step into the signal of your future self even if your hands are still shaking, because embodiment doesn't require perfection. It requires decision. And when you decide to show up as that version of you again and again, no matter what, you begin to rewrite the code of your life. Every time you speak truth instead of shrinking, you reinforce the signal. Every time you rest when the world says hustle, you honor your frequency. Every time you look into the mirror and affirm the divine presence behind your eyes, you become more magnetic. Not because you're fixing yourself, but because you're finally being yourself. The version of you that isn't afraid to radiate. The version of you that no longer negotiates their alignment to make others comfortable. Because the truth is, the moment you become the signal, you also become the disruption. And that's part of the path. You will disrupt systems, expectations, relationships built on your smallness. You will make some people uncomfortable, confused, even distant. Not because you did anything wrong, but because they were only ever connected to your old frequency. And as you rise, those old frequencies will fade. That's not loss, that's alignment. Let them go, and trust that your new vibration is already calling in new reflections, new people, new patterns, new paths that match who you've actually become. So breathe, right now, into your body, into this moment. Let your awareness return to where it's always been. Here, not in the past, not in the future, but here. This is where the signal lives. Not in what you say tomorrow or what you did yesterday, but in the energy you choose to emit right now, the breath you choose to take with presence, the thought you choose to let go, the feeling you choose to amplify. All of it is energy, all of it is shaping your field, every second, every pulse. You are that powerful, and they don't want you to know this. That's why the distractions are endless. That's why the noise is constant, because if you ever get quiet enough to feel who you really are, the illusion breaks, the matrix crashes, and you rise not as a reaction but as a reality. You become the embodiment of the truth they've tried to suppress for lifetimes. That you are not a fragile being trying to survive. You are a creator remembering how to broadcast. You are the glitch in their program, the variable they can't control, the reason the system has cracks, because your awakening wasn't expected. Your remembrance wasn't part of the equation, and yet here you are, seeing through the veil, piercing the illusion, feeling something ancient inside you begin to stir. This isn't just a moment, it's a recalibration, a cosmic update, a signal coming online that hasn't broadcasted in lifetime. You're not broken, you're reactivating, and the static you've been feeling lately, that's just the friction of your old self burning away. Everything you were taught was designed to pull you out of your own field, to scatter your attention so thin that you'd forget you ever had power in the first place. That's why they bombard you with chaos, fear, lack, war, outrage, endless distractions in the outer world so you never return to the inner one. But the inner world, that's where the real technology lives. The real authority, the real multidimensional control panel that bends your timeline in ways your logical mind will never be able to explain. That control panel is your emotion, your belief, your energetic resonance. And once you start using it, the outside world becomes a canvas, not a cage. And maybe you've already noticed it, that the more you disconnect from fear, the more invisible the cage becomes. You walk through places that used to trap you and feel nothing but peace. You hear the same voices that used to command your choices, and suddenly they sound hollow. You're not obeying anymore, you're observing, you're choosing. You're curating your vibration instead of unconsciously leaking it. You're walking into the same rooms, but this time as the signal, not the shadow, and people feel that shift. They may not understand it, but they feel it. Some will be magnetized by it, some will be repelled, but none of them will be able to ignore it. Because when your frequency becomes intentional, it starts disrupting everything built on unconsciousness. Your light, your clarity, your grounded presence. It acts like a tuning fork. It shakes loose the old energy in others. And not everyone will thank you for that. Some will project, some will push back, Some will try to pull you into drama just to see if they can lower your frequency and pull you back into the program. But this time, you don't bite. You don't match their chaos. You don't argue for your old limitations. You stand still in your signal and let the storm pass through you. Because when you know who you are, nothing outside of you has the power to define you. This is what mastery looks like. Not perfection, not a life without problems, but the ability to hold your frequency no matter what's collapsing around you, to remember your divinity when the world forgets its own, to vibrate in truth even when the environment is drenched in fear. That's the real revolution. Not louder voices, not stronger arguments, but a frequency so clear, so steady, so coherent that it becomes untouchable. That's what changes timelines. That's what bends reality. That's what makes you a walking portal for the divine. And you don't need a title or a following or a certificate to do it. You just need intention. You just need alignment. You just need to choose over and over again to stop lowering your signal just to make others comfortable. You are not here to dim. You are not here to shrink. You are not here to blend into a system built on distortion. You are here to broadcast what they said was impossible, to live in such alignment with your truth that others remember theirs. That's the real purpose. That's the real mission. So yes, you might feel different, you might feel like you don't belong, but what if that's because you weren't meant to belong? What if you were meant to shift the frequency entirely? What if you're not here to adapt to this world, but to help create a new one? A world where alignment is louder than ego, where intuition is more valuable than algorithm, where presence becomes more magnetic than performance. That world starts with you right now in this moment. Not someday, not when you're more healed or more ready, but now, in the exact energy you're sitting in. Because you don't attract based on perfection. You attract based on your decision to embody the frequency of your future. Now. And that frequency is not something you need to find. It's already within you, underneath the programming, beneath the conditioning, buried beneath the years of should and can't and not enough. That version of you has never been broken, never been lost. It's just been waiting for you to stop outsourcing your power, waiting for you to stop trying to be palatable to a world that only ever wanted to drain your light, waiting for you to realize that everything you've been chasing is just a match to what you've been denying yourself. Because when you give yourself permission to be the signal, you give others permission to remember their own. That's the ripple effect of embodiment, not noise, not spectacle, but pure, quiet alignment that shifts the energetic blueprint of everything it touches. This is how you heal. This is how you lead. This is how you remember why you incarnated here in the first place. You didn't come to conform, you came to transform. You didn't come to repeat the patterns, you came to end them. You didn't come to blend in, you came to recalibrate the field, just by being you. So whatever story you've been carrying that says you're not ready, burn it. Whatever doubt that still whispers that your light is too much, dissolve it. Whatever part of you that still believes you have to earn worthiness, release it. You are already it, already whole, already broadcasting. And the more you feel into that, the more your reality will reflect it back to you in ways so precise, so undeniable you'll wonder how you ever forgot. There is no more waiting. The veil is thinning, the illusions are cracking, and the truth that's been calling you in whispers is beginning to roar. You're not here to learn who you are, you are here to remember who you never stopped being. That memory isn't found in a book or a ritual or someone else's words. It's found in stillness, in silence, in the space between thoughts, where only vibration remains. That's where your signal lives. That's where your highest timeline is already humming, already formed, already pulsing with everything your heart has been aching for, and the only thing required to merge with it is your alignment. Not your striving, not your proving, just your presence. There's a version of you that never forgot. A version of you that doesn't question or doubt or shrink. It doesn't wonder if it's worthy or capable or ready. It breathes in truth and exhales reality. And right now it's closer than ever. You can feel it. That vibration under the surface of your skin, that knowing behind your eyes, that flicker of divine memory breaking through the static. You're sinking with it more and more each time you choose to feel instead of numb, to expand instead of contract, to respond instead of react. You've been conditioned to believe that only what you can see is real, that if it hasn't shown up in the physical, it doesn't exist. But that's not how creation works. Reality is downstream from energy. Form is the echo, not the origin. And just because something hasn't materialized yet doesn't mean it isn't already here. It just means the signal isn't stable enough yet to hold it. So instead of asking, "Where is it?" ask, "Am I tuned to it?" Instead of saying, "Why hasn't it happened?" say, "How can I embody it now?" Because every time you collapse into the vibration of doubt, you delay the arrival. But every time you choose to stay in alignment, even when it looks like nothing is changing, you reinforce the signal, you make it stronger, you pull it closer. This is the difference between creating from force and creating from frequency. Force exhausts you, frequency elevates you. Force makes you think you have to figure it all out. Frequency reminds you that it's already done in the quantum, and your only job is to align. That's why the more you release the need to control, the faster things shift. Because control is born from fear, and fear lowers the signal. But when you trust, really trust, you begin to generate a field that magnetizes everything you're ready for. You don't chase it. You become the gravitational pull that draws it in. You don't need another sign. This is your sign. You don't need someone else's permission. You are the authority. You don't need the full plan mapped out. You only need the next aligned frequency. That's how the quantum works. It doesn't reward effort, it reflects vibration. So the moment you say yes to who you really are, not with words but with energy, the quantum starts reorganizing itself around you. People shift, opportunities appear, obstacles dissolve, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped trying to be someone you're not. The game changes when you realize that every version of you already exists. There's nothing to become, there's only something to embody. And embodiment is not a future destination, it's a present moment decision. It's choosing to breathe like the version of you who's already free, to speak like the version of you who already trusts, to walk like the version of you who already knows they're not just a body in time, but a field in motion. That's what quantum alignment looks like. It's not passive, it's powerful, it's precise, and it sends a ripple through the fabric of reality that touches everything around you. You may feel like you're just one person, but energy doesn't work in numbers, it works in resonance. One person in full alignment can shift the frequency of an entire space. One coherent signal can disrupt an entire system of noise. That's why your inner work is never just about you. Every time you choose to hold your vibration when it would be easier to collapse, you create new pathways in the field. You open new codes, you light the way for others. You're not just healing for yourself, you're healing generations. You're healing timelines, you're healing the collective field that forgot its own power. And yes, the world may try to distract you, the old systems may try to pull you back in with urgency, with drama, with manipulation. But once you've tasted alignment, you can't go back to sleep. You can't unknow what you felt. You can't pretend the illusion is real when your entire being is vibrating in truth. So let the distractions come. Let the noise rise. You've built something deeper now, a signal that doesn't shake just because the surface does, a knowing that doesn't fade just because the outside world hasn't caught up yet. This is the path of mastery, not escape, not perfection, but embodiment, again and again, until your energy becomes so clear, so stable, so true, that nothing can move you off your center. That's when the timelines bend. That's when the impossible becomes normal. That's when you realize you were never meant to wait for a miracle. You were meant to be the vibration that causes it. This isn't about becoming something more. It's about shedding what was never truly you. All the layers of programming, the inherited fear, the beliefs passed down like invisible chains, none of that is your essence. It's the costume you wore to survive in a world built on forgetting. But now that you're remembering, those layers start to feel heavy. The mask doesn't fit anymore. The roles you used to play begin to crumble, not because you're broken, but because your vibration is rising. And when your frequency shifts, anything that no longer resonates will start to fall away. Let it. Don't cling to what's dying. Don't mourn the illusions that collapse. That's just the shell cracking so your real signal can shine through. You're not ascending to become something you're not. You're descending into the body with the full awareness of what you've always been. That's the paradox. You don't need to go higher. You need to go deeper. Into the breath. Into the stillness. Into the resonance of the self that remembers how to command light with a thought and bend timelines with intention. That self has never been far away. It's been watching, weeping, whispering through synchronicities, through dreams, through moments of silence that felt too alive to be coincidence. Every strange coincidence, every intuitive nudge, every spark of déjà vu, it's all been part of your activation, the breadcrumbs left behind by your higher self to guide you home. And now you're here, not because someone told you to come, but because your soul answered the call, a call that goes beyond logic, beyond language, a frequency you couldn't ignore because it was always yours. You're not following a path, you're becoming it. Every step you take in alignment is a broadcast to the universe saying, I remember, and in response the field lights up, like the stars rearranging themselves to guide you toward what you already are. You're not lost, you're not behind, you're not late. You're right on time because you are the timekeeper. You are the rhythm. The clock obeys your signal, not the other way around. And yes, the world may still try to pull you back into the illusion of delay, of not yet, of someday, but those timelines are expired. You don't belong in them anymore. You can feel it, how heavy they are, how false they sound. Every time you try to step backward into the old version of yourself, the friction is unbearable. That's the wisdom of your body rejecting frequencies that no longer fit. You can't vibrate at a low frequency once you've touched truth. It won't let you, and even if you try, even if you dip for a moment, the real you pulls you back into alignment, because the signal has already been activated, and once it's online it doesn't turn off. It only gets clearer. So stop pretending to be small just because it makes others feel safe. Stop shrinking your signal so you don't disturb the matrix. You are the disturbance. You're the new frequency, the one that can't be explained, only felt, the one that reminds people of something ancient and infinite buried inside them. When they look at you, they won't always know why they're drawn to you or why they feel different around you, but they will feel it. The resonance, the activation, the field you carry without saying a word. That's the work. Not to convince, but to be. Not to prove, but to embody. And yes, there will be days when you forget, when the static of the old world sneaks in through the cracks. That's okay. Don't make it mean anything, just recalibrate. Come back to your breath. Come back to the frequency of trust, of presence, of wholeness. Remember, alignment isn't about never wobbling, it's about knowing how to return, and the faster you return, the stronger your signal becomes, until one day your alignment becomes your natural state, not a practice, not a choice, but a frequency you live in effortlessly. That's what liberation looks like, not needing the world to change before you feel peace, not waiting for others to wake up before you own your light, but choosing to broadcast your truth in every moment, no matter what, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's misunderstood, even when it's lonely. Because your signal is not dependent on approval. It's not here to fit in. It's here to elevate, to illuminate, to ripple out into the field and reorganize the grid. Every thought you choose in alignment, every word you speak from truth, every step you take in coherence, changes everything. So stop asking if it's working. Stop checking for signs. The sign is you. The signal is you. The evidence isn't what shows up out there. It's what wakes up in here. That fire in your belly, that calm in your chest, that voice in your heart that no longer begs for permission. That's the shift. That's the miracle. That's the power they hoped you'd never remember, because once you do, the game changes. You no longer respond to the old frequencies the same way. You don't get pulled into fear-based conversations. You don't take action from desperation. You stop reacting and start radiating. And as you radiate, your life starts to rearrange itself to match the signal, not because you forced it, but because you became the frequency that no longer tolerates distortion. People who don't match will drift. Patterns that used to control you will dissolve. The things you used to struggle with won't even register anymore, not because they disappeared, but because you stopped vibrating at the level where they exist. You didn't fix the problem. You transcended it. This is the reality shift no one talks about. It's not always loud, it doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it's quiet, gentle, a soft inner knowing that says, I'm not who I used to be. And you're not. You're not the seeker anymore. You're the signal. You're not the one waiting for miracles. You are the miracle. And the world doesn't change when you scream louder. It changes when you vibrate clearer. That's what you're doing now. There's a moment in your journey when you stop looking for the exit and realize you were never trapped to begin with. The cage was always made of thoughts. The bars were frequencies you agreed to match. The lock was the belief that you were separate from your power. But you were never locked in. You were conditioned to forget that the key has always been your vibration, not your effort, not your intellect, but the subtle frequency you carry when no one is watching. That's the true currency. That's the language the universe speaks fluently, and you've been speaking it every day, whether you realized it or not. So now that you do realize, everything changes. Because consciousness brings choice. And choice brings alignment, and alignment unlocks the grid. You start to feel the matrix bending, ever so slightly, every time you choose peace over panic, trust over control, clarity over confusion. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about remembering that you are, even in the middle of chaos, even when the external hasn't caught up yet, because the outer world is just a lagging reflection of your inner broadcast. It's delayed feedback, and you're not here to wait for the mirror to change. You're here to change the signal that's feeding it. And as you do, you'll notice something else. The effort begins to dissolve. Things that used to take force now flow. Conversations that used to drain you now energize or simply fall away. Opportunities that once seemed impossible begin arriving without struggle. Not because you worked harder, but because you tuned your frequency to the version of reality where they already existed. And in that space, things don't happen because you chased them. They happen because you matched them. You'll begin to understand that surrender isn't giving up, it's tuning in. It's getting out of the way so the higher intelligence of your field can do what it's designed to do. Manifest, align, attract, expand. You don't have to micromanage the universe. You just have to manage your frequency. That's the divine technology, the blueprint encoded in every cell of your being. The more you trust it, the louder it speaks. The more you doubt it, the more distorted the signal becomes. This is why self-trust is the foundation of creation, not the surface-level trust that wavers with every challenge, but the deep inner knowing that says, even if I can't see it yet, I know the frequency is working. Because it always is. Energy never lies, it never misfires. It can only return what you've sent out, not what you intended, but what you vibrated. That's why alignment is more important than action, because aligned action is effortless, it's inspired. It moves mountains because it's not rooted in fear, it's rooted in truth. You don't need to convince reality, you only need to embody the version of you that no longer doubts. And that version is already alive within you, not as a future self, as a current frequency. It's the quiet strength behind your chest, the soft clarity behind your thoughts, the presence behind your breath. It's not loud, but it's constant. And every time you pause, every time you breathe with intention, you give it space to lead. That's where miracles are born, in the gap between thoughts, in the silence between impulses, in the moment you stop chasing and start receiving. You were never meant to earn what's already yours, the love, the peace, the power, the clarity. You don't have to prove yourself to receive what's aligned. You just have to become it. That's the difference between the old world and the new frequency. The old world said, work until you break. The new frequency says, align until it clicks. And when it clicks, it's not subtle, it's visceral, it's undeniable. You feel it in your body, in your timing, in the way synchronicities start to weave through your day like breadcrumbs from the future. And when they come, don't dismiss them. Don't say it's just luck or that's too good to be true. That's the old program talking, the signal killer. Every time you downplay your power, you disrupt the broadcast. So stop minimizing your alignment just because others don't understand it. You're not here to be understood, you're here to be felt. And the people who are meant to align with your field will feel it, without explanation, without justification. Their frequency will recognize yours. That's how energetic alignment works. It's silent, it's sovereign, and it's unstoppable. So don't be surprised when your reality starts to shift so fast it leaves your mind gasping for logic. The quantum doesn't care about logic. It cares about vibration. And when your vibration says yes, the universe stops asking for permission. It just delivers. Not always how you imagined, but always in perfect resonance with the frequency you chose to hold. That's the key, the choosing. Over and over. Not because it's hard, but because it's holy. Every time you choose your alignment over your addiction to struggle, you create a new pattern in the field. Every time you trust your vision over your current circumstances, you code a new timeline. And eventually that timeline becomes your new baseline. You wake up and feel different, not because something external shifted, but because you did. And that shift becomes the gravity pulling everything else into place. It's not magic. It's mechanics. Spiritual mechanics. Energy in motion, responding to intention, shaped by attention, held by vibration. That's the system. That's the blueprint. That's the power they tried to hide by convincing you that you were just a body, just a mind, just a product of your past. But you are none of those things. You are a vibrational being encoded with infinite timelines, and right now, in this very moment, you are collapsing one into form just by being who you are, not by effort but by resonance. So let the old rules go. Let the past identities dissolve. Let the outdated timelines close. You are not here to repeat. You are here to transmit. And the clearer your transmission becomes, the more the world around you starts to look like the vision you've carried in your heart all along. This is why your imagination matters more than you've ever been told. Because it's not a daydream, it's not a fantasy, it's not some childlike escape from reality. Your imagination is the interface between your consciousness and the quantum field. It is the control panel of creation. Every time you close your eyes and feel yourself living a new reality, you are speaking the language of the universe. And the universe doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. It responds to emotion, not evidence. It listens to vibration, not memory. It moves when you move from within. You were taught to use your imagination to fear the worst, to run simulations of everything that could go wrong, and every time you did, you strengthened that frequency. You rehearsed the vibration of lack, of failure, of pain. And because your imagination was so powerful, the field responded. Not to punish you, but to give you exactly what your frequency was broadcasting. That's how it works. Not as judgment, as reflection, as pure energetic coherence. But now you know better. Now you can stop rehearsing the life you don't want and begin practicing the one you do. And not just for 5 minutes in the morning, but all day, with every breath, with every thought, with every choice. This isn't about pretending, it's about pre-feeling, embodying the frequency of the reality you're calling in before it arrives. And when you do that, it can't help but arrive, because you've become the match. You've stabilized the broadcast, you've made the signal stronger than the static. And when that happens, everything else begins to organize around it. Not because you manipulated anything, but because you harmonized with the timeline where it already existed. You didn't force it, you tuned to it, and once you're tuned, the transmission becomes clear. This is why some people seem to live in a different reality altogether. It's not because they're lucky, it's not because they have something you don't. It's because they're tuned to a different frequency. And everything in their life, from the people they attract to the opportunities that show up, to the emotions they experience, is a match to that frequency. You can change your clothes, change your job, change your location, but if you don't change your vibration, you'll keep recreating the same story in a new disguise. Because energy is the root, and the root always dictates the fruit. You are not here to chase fruit, you are here to become the root. And the root is your state of being, the way you feel before anything changes, the way you speak before there's proof, the way you walk into a room with the vibration of someone who already knows they are the frequency of their future. That's when the old world can't touch you. That's when the delays dissolve. That's when the game becomes effortless. Because you're no longer playing from the outside in, you're creating from the inside out. So if your current reality feels heavy, ask yourself one thing. What vibration am I feeding right now? Not what am I doing, not what am I saying, but what am I feeling consistently? Because your emotion is the feedback that tells you what signal you're tuned to. Fear is a sign that you've slipped out of alignment. Doubt is an indicator that you're rehearsing a timeline that doesn't serve you. Guilt is a clue that you're still identifying with a version of yourself that no longer exists. Don't judge it, just notice it, feel it, then shift. And how do you shift? You pause, you breathe. You remember that no one outside of you has the power to dictate your frequency, not the news, not your bank account, not your past, only you. That is your gift, that is your responsibility, to steward your own vibration like the sacred instrument it is. Because when you do, when you become deliberate about the energy you emit, reality cannot help but rearrange to match your broadcast. And here's the magic. You don't even need to know how. You don't need to figure out every step. That's not your job. Your job is to hold the frequency, to trust the timeline, to walk as if the reality you're calling in is already here, because energetically it is. And when you hold that posture long enough, without flinching, without wavering, without catching into the old signal, the material world catches up. It always does, because the quantum doesn't play favorites, it plays frequencies. And your frequency is the blueprint. So what are you blueprinting right now? What thoughts are you entertaining on repeat? What stories are you still telling? What feelings are you still validating because they're familiar, even if they're misaligned? These are not just habits, they are construction tools. They are carving your next moment before you arrive there. And once you realize that, you stop being careless with your energy. You stop outsourcing your power to external events. You stop waiting for the world to change so you can feel better. You start feeling better now, knowing that it's the fastest path to a world that matches. You stop saying, I'll believe it when I see it, and you start knowing, I'll see it when I believe it. Because belief is not passive, it's not just a thought, it's a frequency. A certainty in your cells that moves reality into position. And you don't need permission to believe in something greater, you just need to choose it, again and again, until that belief becomes your new default, your new signal, your new identity, not because you forced it, but because you lived it. You are not here to be realistic, you are here to be resonant, to broadcast such a clear and consistent frequency that reality has no choice but to conform. And it will, because it always does, it always has. You've just been sending mixed signals, wanting one thing while fearing another, asking for light while vibrating in shadow. That's not a failure, that's a pattern, and patterns can be rewritten, frequencies can be recalibrated, but only when you decide, only when you get clear, only when you finally stop letting temporary emotions override eternal truth. You've made it this far because something deep inside you already knew. You didn't need to be convinced, you only needed to be reminded. The signal was never gone, it was just buried under layers of noise. And now that you've cleared some of that static, the real work begins. Not the kind of work that exhausts you, but the kind that elevates you. The kind that says your only job now is to hold the vibration of who you already are. Not someday, not if, not when the world catches up, but now. Because now is all there ever is. and you, in this now moment, are already whole. You are the broadcast. You are the timeline. You are the frequency that shapes what the world reflects back to you, and as you choose your vibration more deliberately, you'll feel the subtle shifts turning into seismic ones. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time. You'll meet people who feel like future echoes of your higher self. You'll say yes to what nourishes your spirit and no to what drains it, without guilt or hesitation. You'll speak less from reaction and more from resonance. Because you're no longer trying to fix what's broken, you're emitting what's true. And truth doesn't need to prove itself, it just is. Like light, like gravity, like you. So the next time you start to doubt, remember that doubt is just an old signal playing an outdated song. You don't have to dance to it. You don't have to turn it up. You just have to notice it. Then return. Return to your frequency. Return to your breath. Return to the vibration that's already building the future you've seen in your dreams. Because that future is real. And it's closer than you think. You came here with a mission, and no, it wasn't to survive. It wasn't to play small or fit in or hide your light behind humility masks and polite silence. You came to shift things, to break generational patterns with your presence, to raise the resonance of rooms just by walking into them, to be the signal so clearly that others feel permission to remember theirs. That's the real awakening, not escaping the world, but reprogramming it from within. And when the old voices rise up, when they say you're too much or not enough, or that you need to slow down and be realistic, remember who you are. You are not a personality. You are not a history. You are not a body playing the part of a person in someone else's system. You are the system, the spark, the sentient frequency that can rewrite every narrative just by choosing not to believe it anymore. This is your return, not to something new, but to something ancient, something eternal. You've always had this power. It didn't come from a technique or a teaching or even this video. It came from within. It came from your source. And now that you've seen even a glimpse of it, you can never unsee it. You're not human the way they told you. You're not small. You're not limited. You are vibration. You are energy. You are divine consciousness in motion, and nothing can stop what's aligned. So move with that. Speak with that. Walk with that. Let it flood your relationships, your decisions, your identity. Let it dissolve the old stories that made you forget. Let it wash over every part of you that's been waiting to be seen. And as you rise into this frequency, you'll feel it, that you're not alone, that we're all waking up, one broadcast at a time. And the more of us who remember, the faster this illusion crumbles, not with force, but with light. And you are that light. You don't need to wait. You don't need to ask. You don't need to convince. You just need to vibrate. And as you do, as you become the living signal of your highest truth, the entire field will shift. Timelines will fold. Reality will align. And the very fabric of this world will bend, not because you fought it, but because you finally remembered how to command it. You're not here to react. You're here to radiate. You're not here to beg. You're here to broadcast. You're not here to find the truth, you are the truth. And now, you've remembered.